Hello? Hello? Now it's working. Why is it not working before? What the hell? Alright.
Thank you, Dragon King Soup, and welcomes, ladies and gentlemen, to T1 Tier 1 Esports. My name is Super Evil Pop Tarts, and tonight I am going to be interviewing Shepard2420 from Warp. Why don't you introduce yourself to the viewers?
How's it going, everybody? I'm Shepard from Warp, leading the Warp Leagues for about 2 years now.
All right, and why did you start Platoon, your Platoon, or did you inherit it?
Well, inherit might not be the right word. It's more of a coup d'etat.
Me?
And maybe a little bit. A self-mutiny. He left on his own.
Sounds like self-flagellation there, buddy.
Yeah, I was trying to protect myself. No, he left on his own, and you know, it was at the time we wanted to run it as more of a group effort, and he left, and I got all excited and told everybody, "Hey, we're gonna, run this as a big group," and they're like, "No, you do it." And,
Wait, they just said, "Nope, no, we don't want that. We want that adultness. You can have that."
Well, I had a vision for it. I had the time for it, and they liked where I was going, and they also knew that their input mattered to me, and that I would take the group in the direction of that it wanted to go. And so it became much more of, in my opinion, an administrative job. But at the same time, it tested some of my leadership qualities that I've had to use in my life, and I've had to use them, and it's been an interesting ride.
Well, why don't you tell us all about Warp and what's Warp stand for, too?
Well, community would be the first word I'd say to answer that question. The community. The group was started about 5 years ago, and it was on Battlefield 4, and it was mostly a community of just guys playing Battlefield together. They did some scrimmages and a couple of things, but they weren't in the competitive scene. I came around about 3 years later, and wanted to get my toe in the water and competitive, and started pushing that a little bit, and I was spending a lot of time with the team. I'd become somewhat second in command, and was pushing the team towards highly competitive play. And the difference in leadership there was that I believed that our team was ready to lose matches and stay together. And I was right. We were ready to lose matches and stay together. And we built all that on friendship. And we made an effort to build that over the years. And so we are proud of that.
So that sense of community that you have within the group, that's what's kept the core group together for the, I guess you could say, those troubled times up to now?
Yeah, because some real close friendships have formed. To the point where we're talking to each other on the phone. It's not about Battlefield. Some of us would get on the game with each other, and all of a sudden we realize it's been 3 hours and we haven't started anything up. We've become a close group of friends, and those friendships have gotten us through some stressful moments, for sure. And there's a lot of people other than me that put in a lot of effort into that. That is not something I can take credit for.
But always
in this group before I got into it. I just celebrated it and pushed it.
Yeah. No, that's not that's what's great about, video games that a lot of people don't get, is that sense of community and, togetherness that you have with the guys who play games that you enjoy.
Absolutely.
So, is there any other games that you guys play besides Battlefield 5, like, more on the multiplayer slant?
Oh yeah. Anything that's popular right now. All the battle royales. Yes, even the F word.
You only get one. Only one F word per stream. That's what we're allowed. Talking to Fountain City won't have it any other way. Only get one.
A lot of guys got into really like Blackout, even though there's always been a strong joking, discontent for Call of Duty in our group. But a lot of guys said it was really good. I just spent too much money on other games, and everybody kind of this fall season's been tough for a lot of gamers because there's been so many great games that cost a lot of money, and a lot of people are getting caught up in the ones that come out first and not having the money for the other ones. And I told my group
that's where gamers go broke mostly at the end of the year.
Yeah, and there's just been so many big titles like Red Dead is the best example that have just sucked a lot of money out of people right when Battlefield was about to come out. So,
I hate to say it, January is going to be tough for gamers too.
It is. Like, gaming has taken a little step forward. It was a little dry for a little while, I think.
But what other games you play besides COD?
Well, we go back. Most of Battle Royales, loving PUBG right now. The Division was a big one for us. We always had multiple parties up.
Oh, so you're a sadomasochist.
Yes. Yes, we are. Yes, we were. This was before it was fixed, and we eventually got burned out, heard it got better, but just couldn't step foot back inside that game after what we went through. That was before you got checkpoints on incursions, and yeah.
Yeah, it was painful.
It was pretty brutal, and we had a little UFC bouts going for a little while. That'll strengthen and test some friendships. But those two games, we've argued, if you can survive those games with a friend, you'll make it through anything.
So when it comes to keeping all your players all on the same page, what media tools do you use to keep them up for practices, scrimmages, or actual competitive matches?
Discord. But I was using Facebook for a long time because it was the medium that the clan had been using forever when I first joined. And they were very used to it, and they were very responsive with it. They were great about hitting going or not going or maybe, and so I stuck with it for the majority of last year. But I'm having some success transitioning them to Discord.
Yeah, it seems to be the tool of choice amongst all the platoons that we've talked to. Is Discord is where it's at. I mean, it's free. You can get it on your phone for free. We all love our phones.
Yeah, and it's
God knows
so
Hakun the Fail Kitty loves my phone.
Like, if you're going to get into competitive Battlefield in any way, or anything competitive on gaming right now, you're going to need to know your way around Discord, because it just facilitates everything so much cleaner than anything else could.
All right. So,
the last thing I'll say. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
The last thing I'll say is that the one thing that I'm slightly nervous about moving away from Facebook is that I think that knowing each other's real faces or real profiles from most of those guys, which I've actually told people who are joining, if you want to put a fake profile on there, that's okay. It's not the end of the world. But most of the people on there showing their real profiles, we become friends with each other on there, and it humanizes a lot of everybody, and it keeps that community together. And I think what it really does is create what I'm calling the Cheers effect now. It's like Cheers at the end of the night. You come home, you jump in the party, and everybody knows your name. And
do you have a norm?
We absolutely have a norm. Shaver Mike, what's up, buddy? Yeah, Shaver Mike is our norm. Shaver Mike has a signature entrance to the parties. He will say hello, 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 and most of the clan at this point, within a few decimal points, can pinpoint his blood alcohol level based on that hello, hello, hello. But he's my one in real life friend right now that I knew before. He's a wonderful person. I love you, Mike. And he's supported me in a lot of ways. Yeah.
Now you say Discord though is definitely how you would basically organize your league and your matches.
I use pictures of the rosters, and they leave reactions, and then I can track the reactions. based on whether they're going or not. Very simple, very clean, and very easy for me to check real quick before matches and things, and then assign squads. And much cleaner than when I was using Facebook, and it was just one big list of, you know, going and not going. But it was their real names sometimes, and when we were recruiting, I had to go compare real names to green names anyway.
Now, in Warp, is there anyone that we should be keeping our eyes on in the coming months? Guys that are going to make names for themselves, and people are like, well, you got to watch out for that dude because he's really good. Is there anyone, any guys that stand out in your platoon?
Definitely. There's 4 I want to mention who are members of what we're now calling Squad Von Sparkle Pants. That is a very long story.
Squad Von Sparkle
Squad
Pants?
Von Sparkle Pants, yes. And I'm not going to do the German accent for them on this stream, but it's usually said with a German accent. Many matches late at night have devolved into everybody using the German accent to describe everything that they're doing, but it's usually centers around, you know, Sparkle Pants, and we identify snipers as Sparkle Pants. So if you see a lot of snipers in front of you, you call out multiple Sparkle Pants. 150. So it's a call out too. It's added to our tactical communication. But that's what you got to do sometimes. You got to give guys things that are really fun. I didn't give that to them, but let things like that go. And if it makes sense to them, then it'll work.
Kind of like the Coneheads from the '80s hockey team.
I'm realizing I'm not saying their names. It's Obi is my homie. It's Obi is my homie, who is, I believe, mentioned in the intro, up and coming. He just by schedule didn't get to do a lot of competing. And he is always number 1 or 2 on the board. Same with Wolfpack, Just Flipperova, and Unknown Name, which I believe in the intro they described as Tony.
Tony.
Not his real name, but he spelled unknown wrong in his unknown name. It's Unknown. And so Richie, one of our clan elders, gave him the name Tony. It's not his real name, but that's what he's called in this group. Yeah.
We're gonna call you Steve. So
that's about how it went. Yeah, that's exactly how it went.
All right, enough about Sparkle Von Sparkle Pants. Okay. What about you? When it comes to when you're playing, how do you go about playing when you get into Battlefield 5?
In this Battlefield, I'm trying to diversify myself more than I did in Battlefield 1. Very heavily assault and medic. Didn't really touch support until the end. Played it a little bit. Didn't mess with scout at all. And this time around, I'm really focusing on getting as balanced experience as possible. But if it's late night and I just want to have some fun, I'm definitely going assault. I'm tossing dynamite. I'm loving the Piat over the Panzerfaust. I know a lot of people love the Panzerfaust, but I have fallen in love with the Piat and have gotten some fun long-distance arc kills with that thing. Once you learn its arc, it can be a lot of fun, especially effective against infantry too. And I like to throw on a little music sometimes by myself, once in a while, and zone out, play to the music, but it doesn't happen too often. I'm usually squatted up with these guys.
Yeah, I do that occasionally when I'm playing Destiny 2, and it's with me throw something on YouTube, soundtrack-wise. So, with Battlefield 5, now it's been out for about 2 months, give or take a couple days. So it's you gotta, we get to ask you this question with it being out a little bit longer. So what's your, what is your impression of it so far, considering from when it got dropped in, what was it, middle of November to now?
Yeah, well, potential. Potential is the word that I want to hang on Battlefield, because there is so much of it. But they do need to fix some very serious issues. And you know, the big topic is, of course, the TTK and the TTD. And I think everybody by now knows that it's really the big problem is time to death. And unpopular, this is going to be the unpopular opinion, but I was having a little bit more fun on that new TTK, just because it felt like I was getting opportunities to react to things. I wasn't getting full death kills into packets. I was able to get away. But at the same time, the battlefield that I want is this fast TTK with better netcode. And I'm just concerned that Battlefield may be doing a little too much with the destruction and the things like that. And we've really been hit hard by this as a group, because a lot of us started on hardline. There's a small group that not started Battlefield totally, but is where we met initially, is where I met these guys. And there was no destruction, there was the Levolutions, but the netcode was amazing. And we could play together with people from all over the world. So you can say whatever you want about hardline, but you can play it with your international friends. And slowly but surely, DICE seems to be pushing people into their own region. And that's hurt us a little bit, especially competitive play. That some guys pushed out. Honorable mention to Dark Sage from New Zealand, who got pushed out. I'd kill to have on the field, but at 190, 200 ping, it's difficult to be competitive.
Yeah, ping's all it's about. Now, when you just mentioned that TDK back, was it like maybe about, was it 3 weeks ago, where they changed it, and you're saying that you might have the unpopular opinion. Do you think it's hurt any specific class the most when it comes to the TDK?
Well, the problem is mainly too, and I'll argue against myself here, is that when they issued that TTK patch, it made so many guns null and void. They screwed up all the balance that they had created for themselves. And so only certain guns were really viable. And an already somewhat weak medic class got nerfed. It's just things that didn't make sense. And so I'm glad they've reverted, but the line I've heard, this isn't mine, but that the TTK patch originally is a band-aid on the big wound that is the time to death and that netcode, that you're getting 4 bullets in one packet, so it feels like you're insta-dying. That's where the frustration is coming from for people. And so what I really want is this TTK. I want this more hardcore. I played a lot of hardcore and hardline in Battlefield 4. Didn't love Battlefield 1's hardcore, but you know, we played a version of it in Tier 1, the hybrid hardcore, had a little higher damage. So I like that fast play.
Now, when it comes, now we mentioned Battlefield 1, which was, you know, the last time, you know, me and Dragon commentated on the match was for Battlefield 1 for a league. Coming from Battlefield 1 to Battlefield 5, besides the whole change of from World War 1 to World War 2, is there any changes that, from, you know, using as a comparison, that you like, and is there any that pose a challenge, especially when it comes, you know, to affecting competitive play?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm really interested to see, at first I was nervous, but I'm really interested to see how Fortifications play out. I think there's some key objectives. If Conquest gets competitive, there are some key things that are going to need to be built, and there's going to be some strategies on how to build them and get them up, especially stationary weapons and things like that. At first I was concerned that it would just be a non-factor, people wouldn't bother building them, but it appears that they can change the course of the game somewhat, and it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. I think in terms of things that they left in Battlefield 1 that I'd like to see, the big one is sound. Sound is a very important component to gaming for me. And Battlefield 5 is lacking heavily. I mean, even as far as the glitching, not hearing footsteps. Battlefield 1 had such a beautiful sound design. You could tell where somebody was shooting really well if you had a good set of headphones. And I'm not getting that experience in Battlefield 5. And so that is one thing I would like to see them tune. And I think they can tune it. I don't think it's an issue of, you know, not high-quality audio or anything. But,
yeah, Dragon King Soup says that's how he gets a lot of his kills. You know, it's more, you know, just not relying on your eyes, but also the sound. You know, no one, someone's coming around, just like you said. It's, you know,
well,
it's
absolutely.
a big component.
Absolutely, and for me, it's really personal because I have a pretty rare genetic eye disease. It's not super serious. I drive a car. I've taken a bunch of cross-country trips on my own. So I'm not blind here echolocating people or anything, and it's not ever
You're
an
not
excuse.
you're not being Daredevil.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. But it really does add to the fun, and and definitely makes me a better player when I've got really accurate sound that I can rely on. And so I do hope to see them make some changes. And it was the same sound team I found out from Battlefield 1 to Battlefield 5. And so I
Mhm.
think this is a matter of tuning rather than they screwed up. So I'm excited
Yeah.
about them being able to tune that up.
So when it came to Warp cutting its teeth in the competitive arena, where did you guys first draw your first blood, match-wise, and who was it against?
So it was against a guy you know very well, Freeganator from GSP.
Yes, I do.
We got a message from Pete Dog out of Tier 1 on our platoon recruitment thing on the forum, telling us about Tier 1 and a Discord invite. I joined up to investigate, and Freeganator hit me up pretty quickly, was like, would you like to do a scrimmage? And we agreed, and it was a 12-on-12 front lines, and they destroyed us. It was pretty brutal. And we had one moment of pride where we held a rush objective about three or four times in a row, and they eventually rained this hell of mortars down on me in a coordinated fashion I've just never seen. And we were all just blown away. And what was beautiful, though, is what happened after, is that he wasn't a dick. As a matter of fact, he was the exact opposite. He was constructively critical without sounding
High and
blanking
mighty.
on the word. Yeah, yeah. He gave us really good, distinct advice. Some of the advice he was giving us, I was like, I can't believe this guy's telling us this stuff. And it dawned on me that these guys were trying to create a level of sportsmanship inside of Battlefield, inside of gaming, that I was nervous wasn't there. I come from a whole line of playing sports in my life. I played rugby in college, and after that, and getting hurt and coming out, not having that outlet. I believe you guys actually talked about this in Freeganator's streams.
Yeah.
Guys that used to do athletic things and need that competitive outlet, and that was very much my case. And now I've got the competitive outlet, but I've also got my team, and it's very important to me.
Now, if you kind of inherited / mutinied your way to run in your platoon, if someone was thinking about joining a platoon, or starting their own, what advice would you give them?
Well, I could go with the cliche, like, don't try to start one. Join mine. But
well, that's sorry guys, you're not playing Battlefield.
Yeah. But if you're joining, just be present, be active. If you want to be a part of that group, a lot of groups out there, not just mine, what they notice is activity. If you're chatting in the Discord, if you're jumping into parties every night, if you're getting along with people, that's basically my number one and only major rule in our group, is that you can just get along with anybody. It doesn't matter what your views are, who you are, where you're from. If you can get along with people that you don't agree with on certain things and cooperate in this environment, then I'm happy to have you. And I sometimes think that there's a lot of really high-skilled guys out there that may be looking for that. And some of the high-skilled teams have some somewhat toxic environments. And so if there's somebody out there like that, I want you. But in terms of starting your own platoon, it's good for you. If you really want to do it and you want to build it, do it. And the thing you have to know, this is my one real piece of advice for it, is no one is going to care about it like you do. People will come and go, people will put in effort, it'll fade. You're gonna have to be the one or the couple. If you've got a couple of friends that are really that into it too, even better. And I've had some great help along the way, but people's lives change, they move, they do different things, jobs change. And you have to be able to go with that flow. If you can't go with that flow and it frustrates you, you'll never make it.
That's the exact same way I look at my clan on Destiny. I'm the founder and pretty much, run it. But just like you said, no one's gonna love it the way you do. So when it comes to all the matches that you've fought in, and we'll go with the competitive ones when you got your clan, your platoon up to competitive snuff. Is there any platoon that you would call your rival? And if not your rival, but a platoon you've played so much that you both know each other like the back of their own hands.
Well, there's two I can definitely mention for that. The first one is RGME. I don't believe they're RGME right now. I believe they're TDR, the Devil's Regime, slightly changed over. But we had a really interesting relationship with that clan. It was pure friendship, and we were still very much in our own clan. And we scrimmaged with them all the time. We went as far as having a Discord channel called the Warp and RGME Demilitarized Zone. And
oh god, that's good.
That was the spawn of Ronald, I believe, Ronald McDonald. And we.
I'm sorry, that's good. That's just that's gold. Sorry,
yeah,
go on.
It's all good. It's all good.
The
we
played
so many scrimmages against those guys. I mean, I knew who was coming around the corner just by maybe the gun or the way they looked. Like, we played them so much in the Frontlines tournament. They beat us, and it was heartbreaking but amazing because on both maps, Amiens and Argonne, they moved us off of the center flag one time, and it never moved for 80 minutes. So for the first 40 minutes of the first one and the second 40, we just got the hell beaten out of us, but they got the hell beaten out of them. And it was just this beautiful stalemate that could turn at any time. And I loved playing those guys. It was so much fun. And then the other one, rival, would be Triple X. Cool 71, what's up, buddy? Yeah, him and I had a rocky history, but I want to bring it up simply because we have stayed civil with each other. We've had to play each other, we've had to do different things, and we didn't get along at first. And it's really, we've pointed out in the Tier 1 Discord before, it's a great example of what is expected of teams in Tier 1. He doesn't like me and I don't like him. And that's kind of changed now. We joke about it now. But for a while it was like that. But we were civil to each other and we were respectful to each other. And we played them in a Frontlines tournament. We had, two great matches against them. We ended up winning, but they were hard fought. And I was a little worried that chat might get a little heated afterwards, and it was nothing but respect.
So it was you had that you got professional like Jamie and Adam from Mythbusters.
yeah, exactly. We had to be professional. We were capable of that, and then it kind of spun into now what's a joke. Like, I don't game with the guy, but I definitely don't hate him like I used to. Hey, cool.
Now we got our own Dragon King Soup, who likes to talk a good game. And we decided to share his stats, so to speak.
Oh, yeah.
And so, looking at his stats, do you think his words back up his game?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's using that FG he was talking about earlier.
Yeah, the FG42.
Yeah. Although I haven't gotten onto it yet, so I said, I've been spreading it out a lot, but I've heard it's great. I've heard a lot of people talk about it. But, I mean, if you're sitting at 2.0 in what this game has currently been, like what changes they've made and little things, like you're doing your job as long as you're on the objective. And from what I can tell, playing with him before, he's absolutely invested in flanking and being on the objective.
Yes, he is.
I think it's going to be interesting to see what top-tier KDs look like in the future of this game, because you can die so fast.
Especially
so
when,
quick, but at the same time, with those squad revives, those KDs are improving a little bit. So
the way Dragon talks about that FG42, they're going to buy a house and move in together.
Yeah, he did sound like that. Yeah, he loves that. He loves that. I feel the same way about the Rivalries stuff, and I was very pleasantly surprised to get that the other day. And
Well, let's talk about weapons,
Okay.
especially now that it's been 2 months out. Is there some weapons that are like that diamond in the rough that, you know, at first glance it looks like it's a piece of crap, but actually it's pretty shiny?
yeah,
Anything
actually, I
that
got a great
sticks out
example
to you?
for that. The Suomi. The Suomi. That's like 031/1 something. And it is terrible, the first 4 levels. Okay, it's got a 20-round magazine. You pretty much should kind of use it in single fire um, to kind of learn its pattern. But once you upgrade it, you get some accuracy bonuses and a 50-round magazine, and it becomes a killer medic weapon. It was especially good during the TTK change, and I think it's still great. It's got a huge magazine and super fast.
Is there any weapons that, when it comes to competitive play, that you would say should be banned?
Ooh, no, definitely not yet. Definitely not yet. I think you've got to see how the game plays out.
And let's go with you know hypothesis.
The loading extended from Battlefield 1. That was I mean, if you weren't using that in competitive play, you were using the wrong gun. So in terms of balance, I just, any gun that it feels like people are only going to use that, you got to be cautious of. But at the same time, I like the environment of anything goes, and and not having to worry about that stuff. But that could change, you know. We'll see.
No, it's gonna happen. You know it. You know it will.
I think games need to age a little bit before you really know these things.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
This is totally. This is hypothetical. This is not, you know, going to be written down in stone, but hypothetical. If you were going to say at this point in the game's life, which gun you think is like overpowered and should be on that ban list? They were aiming for your bread gun, and now they're going after your.
If he's right about that fire rate, man, that's pretty. That's like
yeah, they're going after. They're going after your waifu there, Dragon. I don't know. You better stand up for her. Anyway. All right. So when it comes, let's go from guns to players. When it comes down to the argument, or just not even the argument, but the skill players versus positional players. How would you describe each one, and what are the positives of each type of a player?
Well, I think a skill player is somebody, my definition would be somebody that can just kind of do anything well. Their aim is just good, their awareness is great, and they're hyper aware of what tools they have on them at the time. I think that Battle Royale may be helping some people with this attrition system. A little theory I have, because they're having to adapt to what they've got on them. And I think that those are the people that can kind of do anything. And then I think the case for a positional player is somebody who practices one thing so much that you have to do it perfectly. We have a saying in some different games. I believe it started in Wildlands. If you're going to take a cocky shot, don't miss. And basically what that means is if you're going to do something like that, if you're going to say, I'm this, and you better be the best at it. And if you do focus on something like that, you really can become extremely proficient at something. But I'll be honest, I'd rather have a lot of skill guys that I could throw into anything than a lot of people that I had to be worried about organizing.
Okay. All right, and so that would be your skill players. How about your positional players?
Positional guys, like, I mean, I think Omar's an example of that. Like, he pretty much only snipes. If he's in there right now, it's the Snipers Canada. I'm not sure if he's on there now, but it's basically his only one love in Battlefield games. And he gets devastatingly accurate with it. To a very frustrating point. I've learned a lot of things from him and how to dodge snipers. And, a little bit about what we were talking about earlier, we're just staying twitchy can make you hard to hit. One of the things I've learned from him, but I do think there's weaknesses in it. If you're not as proficient as something else, then when you need to fill a role, and you can't, then it's, you know, that's, I'm not hating on Omar right now. But like I said earlier, I'd rather have a lot of skill guys than positional guys.
All right.
Because it does
Well,
make life easier. But
based on those definitions or how you see it and your preference for one another, it's now time to make fun of me. We got a little dig in there on Dragon. How would you help someone like me? And honestly, I'm at best. I know I definitely don't have a 1. I'm definitely not above a 1.0 when it came to Battlefield 1 kill death ratio. But and I've sent you a video, so you got to at least see me in action. And I'm sorry that you had to watch that. What advice would you give me to improve at Battlefield 5?
well, as I kind of prematurely mentioned there, I guess the twitchiness, just constantly moving, tightening up your dead zones on that left stick so that when you're moving around, you're moving around as fast as possible. You should be hard to kill from any direction, and that's like the first thing you can do for yourself, and start practicing just always being moving like that, because it gives you protection from every direction, and especially in a game where feedback of where rounds are coming from can be tough. It's important for rounds to miss you. So that would be the first, and that applied to Battlefield 1 just the same. I did notice in that video there was a little too much hip firing. I think Krieganator touched on this, but really just the distance you were picking, I think, was the difference. And there was a couple of opportunities where you had the advantage, you knew he wasn't looking at you, and you could have taken the extra half a second to ADS, get it on his head, and get that kill very clean quickly.
Yeah, we were talking in the green room. Yeah, we were talking about the green room. I should have been using more of the hip fire if I had to, from like medium to short range, not the long range. Like I said, like you pointed out, I was picking bad ranges to try to hip fire on it.
You also move at different speeds when you're hip firing. That is why it is very advantageous in a close range situation. If you get somebody ADSing on you, they're moving at a different speed than you. And so you're able to, except I'm very interested in some of the stuff they put in Battlefield 5 where you're moving 60% faster while ADSing. That is something to pay very close attention to in your weapon specializations, because it will make you harder to hit.
Dragon wants to know, and I just got to it now, what is Green Squad?
Oh, goodness. Oh, goodness. Green Squad. Yeah,
is this gonna be PG? Is this PG rated
totally,
material, or is
totally.
this? Okay.
Well, it is. I guess it is in certain states that are legal. If you can tell by the name there. Yeah, that was actually what I was referring to earlier with the hardline crew. That was the reference that I made, and I forgot to mention the exact name. The Green Squad or Green Squadron is where I made friends in this group. It's the first place that there's a lot of guys that put in a lot of work. James 420, Smiling J. They put in a lot of work to keep that part of the clan going. And because at the time we were kind of split between Hardline and Battlefield 4. This is kind of this, if that makes this whole thing make more sense. So there was kind of the group that was playing Hardline and the Green Squad, and it was really just all the stoners.
So it's like it's the stoner version of Squad Von Sparkle Pants.
Yes, it's the Squad Von Stoners. Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
Squad Von Sparkle Pants 420. Okay. Okay. Hold on here, Dragon's got. I think he's got like all. Yeah. Dragon says like BSR5 minus Dragon Breeze. Okay. So one thing that, me and Dragon, we did commentating with Elite and, watching a lot of matches, and this is for Battlefield 1. And the one thing that stood out to me that I thought was really important, especially in the maps that allow for it, we're going back to Battlefield 1, was tanks. Now most people will think, oh, people just want to be in a tank because they got big guns that can go boom and they'll probably last longer and they won't die so much because they're in a big metal behemoth. But what I noticed is tanks are really strategically advantageous, and if you lose a tank, especially if you do a mistake, and I've seen it a couple of times, that tank goes, you pretty much, the tides are against you. When it comes down to tanks, how important is it to have a really good tank driver? Not just a guy who can get in there and can, hack it, but a guy that is like your best skill player on foot. Do you think that's really important, especially with Battlefield 5, how important tanks are now? And what do you think it takes to really be an ace tank driver?
Well, you're hitting the nail on the head with what you've got to be an ace tank driver. You've got to be what we were talking about earlier in terms of skill positions. You've got to be able to do anything well. Your aim has to be, I think what you're talking about, the misconception with the tanks is kind of you've got big explosive rounds and machine guns and things, but really good players still aim very well and put those explosive shells in just the right spot. They can shoot those machine guns like they're just running around and put very accurate hits on you. I know for a fact when I run tank on here, for fun, I'm constantly firing that round, switching in the machine gun and following it up with machine gun fire, and I'm getting a lot more kills sometimes with that machine gun than anything else. And I'm not claiming to be this skill aim guy here. And it takes that kind of awareness, especially in competitive play. You're so right about that. Like, it can't just be anybody. And more so in this game, infantry are going to really have to support tanks. I mean, you saw it in competitive play. In Battlefield 1, infantry supporting tanks, it was necessary, and it's going to just be even more important. Not just a repair guy. You're going to need people around them.
Yeah.
What
if
I'm
you don't
really
have a good crew,
for,
that it doesn't matter how ace that driver is. If you don't have a good crew, you're pretty much toast.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And what I'm really excited to see is that there's a lot of meta strategies that work their way into Battlefield 1 around tanks where they took certain positions and just had to learn how to hold just that spot, and they never had to leave. And now they have to leave. Now they've got to go reload.
Plus tanks in Battlefield 1 were great spawn beacons.
Yes, they were. Yes, they were. Now we do have spawn beacons, which I'm happy about. I think that's a good addition. I think it's good for gameplay. It might not be all realistic, but I think it is good. But I'm really excited to see the strategies the teams use on tanks when it comes down to having to reload them. Destroying the enemy teams, that's going to become, I think that's a meta right out of the gate where bombers or planes are going to fly to your side of the map and destroy your tank repair station. So you're going to have to get out and build that or get somebody to do it for you. There's going to be some strategy employed on the attrition of these tanks.
Well, now that you brought that up, and another question that has kind of popped up a little bit lately is, how about what's it take to be a great pilot? Because from what I understand, the planes here in Battlefield 5 are a hell of a lot more killy than they were in Battlefield 1.
Yeah, my answer to that question is I have no idea.
I mean, especially if they're allowed in competitive play, because in Battlefield 1, at least the league we were in, planes weren't allowed.
Yeah, and in Tier 1 they are, and they will be. I will imagine, and they were a huge part of competitive conquest, even just in the breakouts. I mean, if you weren't breaking out with your team with planes, you were losing. Like, it was a race for that, because the picket system in Battlefield 1, it was a race. So you had to run those planes, drop people off, squads, bombs, that objective, and they were incredibly important. But in terms of being a killer in those planes, man, I had some fun when the game first came out, thought it was kind of good. Now I'm just I have no idea. I have no idea how these guys do it, how they lose me, I can't lose them. Yeah, no idea. No idea.
You're a flying brick.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. As soon as somebody's on me, no chance of getting out of it. Had some fun moments where I've gotten some people to crash, but for the most part, I'm done.
Okay. Out of all the games that you've played, and you probably have tons that that you've had, is there any game that you look back on when when the dust is cleared and you're kicking it back, and you start thinking about it, and you go, wow, my boys, my guys, they really pulled it up and cleaned house. Is there any match that comes to your mind when it comes to that, beauty of a gem?
There's two. There's the Triple X match I mentioned earlier. Omar, I believe, put up 60 or 80 and 0 in the tank. And we were just well in control of it the whole time. But the more satisfying one in terms of what you're talking about, is we didn't wreck it. It was the last game of the last Frontlines tournament. We were playing Murder, and it went into overtime. And we had to slug it out, and we won it by one objective in overtime. And that was one where, after a lot of losses, a lot of heartbreak, that really infused us. Even though it was the last match, there was a lot of joy out of that because we stuck out that tournament. There's a lot of teams that dropped out, and we refused to quit. And we're really proud of that. You can look at our record and not be impressed sometimes, but I couldn't be more proud of that group of guys and girls that made personal life sacrifices to make each one of those matches. And guys with migraines spraying MGs down lanes who could barely open their eyes at one time. So, like I said, we're a family. We did that all for each other and stuck it out. And I just want my guys to know in public just how much that meant to me. Yeah.
All right. Well, Taco Nefel Kitty is knocking things off a shelf onto my head to let the chat know that if they have any questions, start posting to them now, and Dragon King will zip them over to me, and we can get some questions from the chat soon. So based on the stream so far tonight, and I believe you're watching it along with Dragon, what you've seen so far, where do you think you and your team can improve in Battlefield 5 coming from Battlefield 1?
I think the area that we can improve in is staying together as a squad. I think that there were certain elements of Battlefield 1 that rewarded going off on your own a little bit, because you could do a little sneak, get a little flank, get all the kills to yourself. There's a reward system for that. And I think that there's now an intrinsic reward system for playing with your squad. It's the most impressive system I've seen in a Battlefield game. I think they've really made it so that you will have a better experience and play better if you stick with your people. And I've noticed sometimes when we've been playing around, and I am accusing myself of this entirely, it's slipping into some Battlefield 1 habits. And I think, though, that a lot of these groups have been loving Battle Royales together, a lot of these squads that have formed. And I've embraced that to a certain extent, and I didn't plan this, but it's been a bit of a happy surprise. I think it could pay off in Battlefield 5. Having that group of people that you've played so many times with, that you have a level of communication, that played Battle Royales where you're used to always being in sight of one another, close to one another, I'm hoping that is going to pay off for us. And it's why we play so many other games, to expand our skill set.
All right. Some questions are coming in from the chat. From Kameho, what settings do you use in the game?
Well, I mentioned earlier that one of the first things you're going to do is your dead zone on your left stick. Tighten that up as tight as you can go without getting any creep, because you're just going to move faster. Your right trigger and left trigger, those sensitivities can be turned way up so that gun's going off a lot quicker. It'll make the game feel a lot more responsive. I've turned off some of the visual settings and things. A little bit of those are personal to me, based on my own eyesight, but you should definitely delve into those settings. Battlefield, I mentioned earlier, my colorblindness, one of the reasons I love DICE is they have always had some of the best accessibility options in Battlefield games, in terms of me being able to customize the colors of my squad, the enemy team, markers, all kinds of different things. It's been able to let me tailor it to exactly what I need. And so I've kind of always been real thankful to DICE for that. So those,
all right.
But getting into those can really improve your game.
All right, it's from Rumple5skin from BSR5. He's asking, what's your opinion on the one-man flank setup?
Oh, I mean, I could build it up and I could pick it apart. I mean, if you don't, the TTK is so fast that if somebody turns on you and you're done, it's over. You've separated yourself from the squad, but at the same time, it can be a great move because, first of all, footsteps are hard to hear. Gunshot sounds are hard to hear right now. And with the way the TTK is, one guy can inflict a massive amount of damage. That is one thing I do like about this game. It can be frustrating to be on the receiving end of it, but work hard and be the one doing it, and you'll have a lot more fun.
It looks like so basically
because,
Scout sets up spawn beacon and then lets loose.
what's that?
Looks like what they're basically saying is I guess a scout setup, and acting as a spawn beacon and then letting loose.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, but at the same time, I'd argue, why don't you have a spawn beacon? Why don't you have a beacon down away from that guy so he can work and you don't have to worry about getting shot or giving away his position? That'd be my argument. I'm telling you, competitive, I'm pretty sure if you're a sniper not running a beacon and putting your guys in a position to spawn close to objectives, you're going to get out of the flow, you're going to get out of rotation, and you're going to get beat. Spawn beacons are going to be huge.
Spawn beacons are going to be huge, okay. Alright, let's see if we get any more. Let's go with a couple more questions. Don't have many left to go. So why don't you tell us all about Tier 1 gaming?
Well, I can't say enough good things. Going back to the first interaction with Krieger, and just how they built us up, and then we had a very similar relationship with Triple V and Pete Dog and Beatsters. Doing a lot of scrimmages with them, and it was just, and time again, like I mentioned earlier, they were explaining and telling us straps that I was like, I can't believe they're giving this away. And it was, but I've recognized now it's about building competition, building a community. There are metas to these strategies, and they need teams to kind of get in and learn the metas so that their competition plays well. But they've been so supportive in so many different ways in terms of advice on recruiting, strategizing, and organizing. How to use spreadsheets, and just a million different things that I never was thinking to do to run a platoon, and they really introduced that to me. And to move it to Tier 1 and what Ender's built, I mean, I think he's doing one of the hardest things in gaming. He's building gaming with sportsmanship. And so many different aspects of not just competitive Battlefield, but all kinds of esports have let toxicity infiltrate them and either destroy them or just exist. And there's zero tolerance for it has created some drama. But it's because people are being removed that cannot conduct themselves maturely. That's the bottom line. There have been a lot of amazing teams in Tier 1 that have destroyed everybody, and ESP was one for a long time. And like I just told you, how he talked to me, they weren't dicks about it. it made a difference.
He gave me constructive criticism too on the same video you seen, and you know, that's just great to have where, you know, people are trying to improve your game, so that if you come down to it, you have better matches against each other. I mean, you can't really...
I think you need that as a clan leader too. You've got to be able to tell people they're doing something wrong and not piss them off. And it's a human skill.
Dragon's asking, how is Hobo Fraggins playing on dial-up internet?
Oh, poor Hobo. Poor Hobo. Alright, so Hobo is Air Force, and he's on a deployment in the Middle East right now.
Oh, God.
The poor guy has been through hell and back trying to get Battlefield downloaded. It took him 3 weeks, and then the file was corrupted. Now he's finally got it, and he's trying to get in on tonight, and I've seen a couple messages, and now you're confirming that he's having a real hard time. So I'm sorry, Hobo, but a shout out. He's kind of on a competitive hiatus while he's on deployment. right when Battlefield 5 launched. Yeah, yeah.
It sucks that he's not able to get his game on, but
He's
let's
played
just
in
hope
almost
he.
every Frontlines match we've ever played. Yeah.
Well, let's hope he, he has a safe deployment out there and he gets back to better world internet.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh.
But that's not totally uncommon for us. We've had a lot of previous military, active duty, non-active duty.
Well, didn't you say didn't you say a couple of the members of Squad Von Sparkle Pants are?
Yeah. I don't believe OD served, but the other three, unknown, was Army for a while. I don't believe he didn't go into combat. I know that, but Wolf and Flip did, and so I think they're another great example of what Preganator was talking about with people with that competitive drive. And one of the guys to really look out for who's been leading us, especially in that group, is Wolfpack. I've been following him around recently just to get better lanes and get more kills. Because he's got an instinct and he's on it and got a real calm competitive drive. That's what I like about him. He doesn't get nervous and jacked up and excited. He just goes out and does it.
Shadow Shinobi wants to know that if Pop-Tarts played for Warp, what role would you have me fill? And by the way, I have a proclivity to run after tanks and destroy them. I see a tank and I'm like, oh.
Do you think I could convert that into an ability to stay next to our tank with a repair tool?
No, I go after the tank and destroy. There's been times where Dragon's like, oh, Pop-Tarts, come on, let's take the fight. Oh no, there's a tank. No, the Pop-Tarts, no! Oh, we lost them. But the thing is, 9 times out of 10, I destroy that tank and everything in it. Then you throw me against regular human players and I'm pretty much big old meat bag that's easy to get into the goo. But that's no, what role would you put me at? I mean, quite seriously, I've only played the one class in Battlefield 1 really, so.
Okay, well if that's where you were and that's what you were comfortable with at the moment, that is how I would fit you into my game plan. Just from a personal standpoint of what exactly I would do, I would put you in this current situation into your strongest possible spot. So I would fit you with a squad of some other really good guys that I thought would get you or keep you in position to get those tank kills. And see where it went from there. But I do like guys to stick with what they're comfortable with, what they've been using the most lately. I've talked to them a lot about that throughout these competitive cycles.
Mine was supplying bullets, staying on the points, and then when I, unfortunately, that need takes me over, I run after tanks and kill them.
That's okay, but that can be real tough in competitive environments where snipers or MGs are really covering those approaches.
Unknown post. If Dragon played against you, how would you plan against him and get him to rage?
Well, I think I'll just have, Squad Von Sparkle Pants turn on the teabag switch. I think that's really the only, we're not real bad teabaggers. We got 1 or 2 guys with what I call CTD, chronic teabagging disorder. And just don't take those teabags seriously, because they're just, they do it to everybody. They do it to their own mother, so don't take it personal. Yeah.
The more that I think about Squad Von Sparkle Pants, it's just like the only thing that comes like, we're some wild and crazy guys.
Well, you're gonna have to. You should play with us later tonight, maybe something like that. And, they can give you a peek into what that was. Yeah.
Oh God, they probably have the jackets too. Join the club. Anyway. All right, so. Wait a minute, looks like we got another question. No, that's it. Okay, so last question, and then we're gonna wrap it up. When EA is going to give us those private servers that we've all been wanting to get, so we can all get our competitive on, because all of us are going through withdrawal now. I mean, yeah, it's great we're getting all the pubs and stuff like that we can play, and you play with your platoon. But we really want to get it where the matches really matter. I need to commentate on something. I haven't commentated on something in months, and I'm
going to be commentating on stuff too.
But when they get those private servers, and they said they're coming, they just don't have there's no date that I know of. As far as I know, no one knows when they will be. Will you be looking forward to the upcoming season?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I'm curious to see what it's going to be. I've got some opinions. I do right now think that Conquest is a little bit better option based on what I've seen out of Frontline. I mean, I've studied Battlefield 1 Frontlines like it was a major, and coming into Battlefield 5, I was somewhat expecting Frontlines 2.0, and it's not quite living up to that. And I love Frontline. You know, we put so much effort into it for that tournament, but Conquest does have a lot more tactical dynamics than and I'm very interested to see how the tanks and the attrition and the different creative ways that people come up with dealing with that stuff. Because I have just learned so many things in this past couple of years that I've just been like, first of all, how did I never think of it? But that's also genius. Like, that's just... So.
All right, well, that's gonna be it for tonight. But
can I give a couple shout-outs?
Sure, go for it. Shout it out.
Okay. There's just that we've had a rocky history in our clan, and a lot of tense moments and different things, and there's a lot of people that have stuck with us and done the right things, and I just want to name them out. It's Dark Sage of Doom, Lester, Ghost Cattergeist is a big one. He's the one I told you. He's a veteran too, and he's the one who was spraying the MG with a migraine down the hallway on Amiens. Yeah, he has literally sacrificed physical pain for us. Richie and Laws from England for giving me my famous happy birthday post. I realized we didn't talk about that. JR, Hackerfind, Maddie the Fatty, and your boy Trigger are awesome people who put in a lot of effort a lot of years ago to keep this group going. And I want to make sure that they know that was appreciated because we're having a lot of fun.
All right. Is there any thing that you want, besides your shout-outs, is there anything you want to let the guys, people out there and the viewers know where to find you if they're looking to become a recruit for your team, or your medias that they can reach out and touch you in a good way?
Yes, I believe there's going to be a Discord invite link accompanying this stream, and that is our Discord, so I can get in and talk to you. Our recruitment process is not highly specified. It is more about getting to know you and playing with you, and the people that stay around and stay active get their tags put on, get into the official chats in the Discord. We have a public page, War Pigs Gaming, that you can like, and that is also founded by my last shout out, NetHack45, who has had a bit of a crazy life, but has done a lot of stuff in the background for us.
Okay. Any other?
And not necessarily. I've got Poe WB streams a lot of different things. Streams a lot of Battlefield 5. If you really ever want to catch the War Pigs playing on an average night, he's probably the one streaming us.
All right. Okay.
And yeah, not me. I've tried, but just gonna do tier 1 broadcast.
All right. Okay, well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for watching this Platoon highlight with Shepard 2420 from Warp or War Pigs. Next Platoon highlight is going to be Odin next week. I will be talking to. It's actually going to be a double interview. I will be talking with. I believe it is Wolfbreck and 001 and Death Pander 72. That'll be next week at a time to be determined. If you are watching the stream and you want to make sure you get more Platoon highlight action, especially when the season starts, Be sure to subscribe and set the bell to notification to always, so that way when we stream is going, you will get a notification for when Tier 1 esports is streaming. Also, a like would be nice because YouTube is weird and it really helps be able to actually see the stream in the heads up when you go to YouTube. So for Dragon King Soup, for executive producer Taku and the Veil Kitty, and our guest Shepherd2420 from Warp, my name is Super Evil Pop Tarts. Thank you for watching Tier 1 Esports Platoon highlights with Warp.